My name is Arlen Diamond, and I am the owner of Diamond Associates. We are a leadership management professional development consulting company. And among the many things that we do is work with corporations and individuals to look at the culture of their company or the culture of their prospective companies. So today we're going to be talking about culture in companies, and we're going to talk about how to create and maintain the best of them. But we're also going to talk a little bit about how you, as a person interested in finding out about a culture, can do it. So let me start with some pretty obvious kinds of thoughts. Culture exists in every company, in every organization, in every group, every neighborhood, and every town, whether you like it or not, whether it's been defined or it defines itself. So it can be defined by default, or you, as the leaders in your company, can figure out how you want it to have and to work towards defining it yourselves. If you're looking for a job, learn about the culture. See if it fits for you. So let's talk about what's going to happen in this course. So we'll define what we mean by company culture. Of course, definitions are important. We'll explore the ways of achieving it and maintaining the culture that we want. And of course, we're going to offer suggestions as to how you can improve your culture, assuming you want to. You may have the perfect culture for yourself. And I want to say, and I'm going to say it repeatedly, there is no such thing as one size fits all. I know of highly successful companies that are based on cutthroat competition and long hours and underappreciation for their people. And I know of wonderfully benign companies that are highly successful. So, it, although you might think there's only one way, there isn't. So let's see, where do we start? Well, we start with the vision and the mission of the company, because starting with that helps to articulate the values. So you, as the leadership in the company, and typically that starts at the CEO and maybe even at the board level, what is it you dream? What is it that you want? And then what are you going to do about getting what you want? So the vision is the dream, and the mission is, what are you going to do about it? So once those are established, we can create the values of the company, and every level of management needs to learn to walk the talk and to be consistent. But let me remind you that the culture starts and actually also ends at the C level. It's up to the highest levels in the company to keep making sure down the road that the culture that has been established is consistent and happens. And later on, I'll tell you some stories about how things like that can backfire. I also want to remind you that HR has a vital role in the articulation and maintenance of culture. HR decides on all the programs. HR is the one that does the interviewing. HR is the one that does sanctioning if sanctioning is required. So it's really important. So let me tell you a little bit about my background. Uh, First of all, I started working for a living. I grew up in New York City and worked with some incredible companies in New York City, um, really being mentored and learning tremendously about them. And later on, I'll give you a couple of stories. And then, of course, I became a consultant and have consulted to, well, more than dozens, but lots and lots of different companies of different cultures. And then I taught in an MBA program, and my students were wonderful. My students were all working students who had come back to get their MBAs. So they taught me a lot about the companies in which they'd worked. And then I did a survey, and you'll learn more about that survey as we get into this. I surveyed dozens of people about their company culture. And obviously, I did some research because that's what people doing courses do. So we're going to kind of combine all of that. So let me just give you a starting place, okay? When I did the research, I asked people a bunch of questions, which I'll discuss with you later, but I also gave them a space to write whatever they wanted. So here's some good ones. This is one of the companies. To be successful, you must be willing to work 50, 60 hours weekly to maintain your value and not complain or question expectations. Well, that'd be a tough company, but it works for many people. They have thousands and thousands of employees. And here's another one, embodying openness and diversity, creating a healthy atmosphere of cooperation. Those are practically opposites. And here we have a third way of looking at it, a strong sense of corporate structure and formality. Do you remember the old commercial where you had the IBM guy and the Apple guy? And the IBM guy was kind of square looking, frankly, wearing a suit with a tie, and the Apple guy was kind of long and lanky and slouchy. Um, that's two different cultures, isn't it? Here's another one. That's really ugly. And yet, it's a very successful company. I would not want to work in that company either, but okay, so let's start here looking at what people say employees need to feel good about their company and their role in it. Now, if you think about that, you can be working for the most cutthroat company in the world, but if you have a lot of respect for that company, you're going to feel good about it. Very important to have it be a good fit. Um, some people really like that heavy competition, and that works for them. Other people work better in a friendlier, more collaborative and cooperative environment. Um, but I guess all people feel, or most people feel, that the executives should walk their talk, because hypocrisy is a horrible thing. So as I said before, it starts at the C level. HR is responsible for articulating and maintaining it. And everyone should live the values and walk the talk, because otherwise you have distrust and hypocrisies. So let's talk about our learning objectives. In this course, obviously, we're going to recognize what's meant by company culture. We're going to discover the elements that go into creating a successful culture. We're going to discover different examples of company culture, explore ways to create and/or enhance your company culture, identify the elements needed to assure that all levels of the organization maintain the desired culture of the company. So here's your definition, and there are more than one. A system of shared values, customs, beliefs, behaviors, and ideas that are used to cope. A patterned way of thinking, feeling, and reacting. Something that shapes behavior. The collective programming of the mind, which includes a system of values. So what's the starting place? So whether it's a new company or one wanting to make a significant change, you start by getting a group together representing different levels in the organization. Now that may sound like I'm contradicting myself. Obviously, the vision starts with the CEO. But if you want buy-in helps when you have a whole bunch of people, each representing a different area of the organization and a different level in the organization, working together to create the vision. Now, of course, if I were the CEO of that company, I would be spicing that to make sure that my ideas come through too. Because the C-level could be part of that group. So you brainstorm, and I've talked a lot about brainstorming in other courses that I've done, particularly in the group decision-making and problem-solving course. How you brainstorm vision and mission is very important, and I will discuss it somewhat later. So that's your starting place, is in defining it. So what is a company culture? It's core values, it's the code, it's the ideology, it's the values, it's all of above.